as long as those people that are having their jobs like kind of removed are learning and using AI to do the next best thing, then there'll always be a place for them. But I think it's the people that, you know, they're like so upset that AI like maybe automates part of their job and they feel less valuable and they don't learn like the next thing, that could be problematic for them. Welcome to the Optimize Your Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Binek, and today we have a very special guest. She is the head of marketing at a company called Adaptive. Her name's Maggie Sirunyan, and we're going to be talking all about how AI has impacted demand gen. I hope you enjoy today's conversation. Maggie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Ian.
Pleasure's all mine. I'm really ecstatic. Like we talked about just a second ago, I'm so excited to have like a literal theme that we're talking about for the whole show. And for our listeners, so they know, we're talking about AI and its impact on demand gen, not just the digital marketing industry, which I think is what a lot of people talk about. It's what I've talked about with a lot of the guests. We're actually talking about specifically in the demand gen space. So I think we have some really cool hot take topics to talk about, debated things, and I'm ready to dive in, Maggie, if you are.
I'm so ready too. Big topic.
All right, awesome. So within the topic of AI and its impact on demand gen, the first thing I want to talk to you about and ask you about really is, how much are you using AI to write copy, craft landing pages for your org and where you're working? Like, what does that process look like as the head of marketing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I'll just give a little bit of background about me and like the resources that I work with now and worked with before. So I've never had like a big team. So AI is really huge for me because it helps, like amplify what I can do and helps with scale a lot. So that being said, I use AI a lot in the polishing or enhancing phase of my work. Like, let's just say I'm writing an outline and copy for a landing page. I'll always think of the idea myself. I like creating the idea or the concept and reverse engineering that from the goal of the landing page, right? Like, what campaign is this for? Like, how are people going to stumble upon this landing page? Is this like for through social? Is this for like a landing page for search ads? Like, all that is taken into account to craft the content and the outline and the offer of the landing page. So I build the skeleton myself, and then I'll like really try to get as like much content in terms of copy on the paper as possible without worrying too much about it being perfect. But then once it's there, now I can use an AI tool, whether it's, like ChatGPT or it's Jasper or Grammarly or like whatever is the flavor of the day, and get iterations of what I have on paper and try to work faster through those iterations before I get to like a final result that I'm happy with.
Interesting. I just want to stop you there real quick. Your take is very different than what most people I talk to is they actually use AI before they do anything else. Like maybe they have the strategy in mind first, right? But then they use AI to get the mock-ups, and then they themselves would come back and adjust it. So it's interesting. I mean, for you, maybe it makes sense, right? Like smaller marketing teams leading the team, like you have to put the strategy in first and then give it as much context as possible. And then AI is sort of acting like your specialist in a sense, or your manager in a sense, to basically get it across the finish line or get it 90% of the way there. And then you come back with that last 10% is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I had a sense that you might say that you hear the opposite scenario more often. People like using AI for idea generation. It helps with that, like staring at the blank page problem that I mean, myself too, like a lot of people experience, whether in like creative fields or marketing. But yeah, as you mentioned, like I'm owning the strategy. So I already come to the task knowing what needs to be done. So maybe that's why it's easier for me to, like build the foundation first and then use AI to iterate. I treat AI more of as a sidekick and like a personal assistant in that sense, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to trust it with like strategy and
Yeah.
ideation and being creative. I actually don't think that's where the forte of AI right now, at least at this point in time in 2024, lies in. But we can chat
Definitely.
about it later too.
Yeah, and I think that's something I really want to pick your brain about later is how it's going to impact things moving forward. Because I agree with you right now, absolutely not. I don't think that AI has a good idea of what strategy even means and like what it would be recommending to someone. Like AI is just regurgitated content. It's looking at this massive, set of data and coming up with some sort of conclusion on like based off what you ask it for, it's just going to pull something from its repository. It's basically like searching in Google, but a little bit more personalized based off of your
Exactly.
prompt. So it's
Yeah.
nothing like crazy, right? But I think let's talk about like its tactical use cases here real quick on the same question, like how it's
Hmm.
impacting, how demand gen campaigns are operating. The in my experience, you're going to get the best performance from very personalized landing page experiences, especially addressing things in the buyer journey like comparison pages, pricing pages, how it works pages, which traditionally speaking with like bootstrapped companies or early stage like marketing endeavors, they don't have like the resources to make those pages. But now with
Hmm.
AI, it's like there's almost no excuse not to have these things. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that the softwares and the AI that's out there now enables companies to actually create those pages quickly and efficiently, or do you still feel like we're far off from?
I think there are tools that are really, really useful. The good ones do fall on the more expensive side. Like one tool that I will highlight is Mutiny.
Okay.
Um, Pretty sure you're familiar with them, but
Yes.
yeah, with them you have to already have like a certain amount of traffic, like consistent monthly traffic for them to even want to talk to you and implement the tool with you. But for listeners who don't know what Mutiny is, it basically plugs into your website and it's an ABM tool. So you can create landing pages dynamically or personalize existing pages, even like your home page, to specific market segments down to a point where you can, like say your like Snowflake is the number one account on your ABM program and somebody from Snowflake lands on your homepage, it'll say like, hey, Snowflake, like
Yeah.
dynamically, and it does so with a pretty good accuracy. And I don't know, I really like the tool and their marketing too. But yeah, it's a good tool, but it is expensive. So for small teams who are really looking to scale or companies that don't have that required traffic, like it is a somewhat inaccessible tool right now. And I'm
Hmm.
sure there are similar tools out there for like smaller businesses or at more affordable prices. But like dynamic personalization, I think is getting to a pretty exciting point. And I guess more tactically speaking, one application of AI that I think is pretty ripe and marketers should take advantage of is reformatting or repurposing content. So going back to like a demand generation campaign and how can you make it like bigger, more impactful, and expand its reach. Um, like there are several strategies that you can implement, but let's say you have one campaign where you have a central piece sort of type of content. Maybe it's like a really great webinar where you were able to bring in like influential speakers and like
Hmm.
that's the theme for the quarter. Let's like
Sure.
take this as a scenario and you build like a long format article about it and you have the webinar recording. Now you have like two pieces of content that you handmade. One's video, one's, let's say, written. And you can now use AI to repurpose those tools. There are great tools that are able to like chop up video content that's actually filmed and recorded in landscape mode and
Oh yeah.
repurpose it for socials. There's like a ton, and they're pretty affordable. And some will even, point at the best timestamps for you,
Yeah.
based and say like, oh, we think that like this specific clip will generate a lot of engagement, maybe because the person showed a lot of emotion, or there was a lot of fluctuation in the audio track, so it sounds like something exciting was being discussed, or maybe it's listening for the talk track and reading the transcripts. And
Yeah.
was able to determine that there's something insightful being said. So I think in that sense, like repurposing content and reformatting content quite literally, using AI is like a pretty solid application use case of AI.
Yeah, I think, and I think to try to broaden everything that you just mentioned is that AI is being used to do a lot of like the manual lower level labor that has traditionally been needed for the past 5, 10 years. And now AI is coming in and saying, like, I can do this very quickly around the clock, and you don't need to pay someone to do this anymore. You can pay $50 a month for this software that will do it for you whenever you want. Like that's basically what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
When it comes to working with existing material, it can make things very fast and very efficient.
So let's get into then like campaigns themselves. Like, okay, like we talked, AI can, you know, identify parts of a clip that they think is going to cause a lot of engagement or spur a lot of engagement on social media content. But what about like Google Ads campaigns or LinkedIn Ads campaigns or just any other social media campaign? Like, what are you seeing in terms of how demand gen marketers are being impacted by AI or how they're using AI to improve their results? Like, do you have any like anecdotes that you'd like to cite that, how people are using it for their campaigns?
Yeah, I have a few anecdotes. I won't name names. I've heard a lot of stories from my peers of like publishing pretty much entirely AI generated Google Ads campaigns and then performing very well, like for a
Mm,
very short, brief period of time, and then everything tanking and them having to like either pause or completely redo the ad copy and the targeting and the even the keywords that they're bidding on. So that's pretty interesting in my opinion.
that's
But then
fascinating, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, but like I've honestly, I've tried reading up on it. I wasn't able to find any like conclusive evidence
Sure.
of it being a thing. So maybe these are isolated events. But the reality is that if you're say like using AI to build the campaign like structure or get ideas or get keyword lists or even down to the ad copy or using AI in your SEO like research strategy, like at the end of the day, the end result, the campaign itself is the same. Like it looks and feels the same to the platform as if you did it all by hand. I don't believe there are like that Google has like tools that can say like, oh, you used AI to generate this like ad
Yeah.
copy. I think the existing state of the art AI detection tools when it comes to text are pretty, I don't know, like unreliable.
Hmm.
So if it's I don't think it's the AI that's causing anything to like go poorly or go
Sure.
well for your campaign. It's more about like how you think about it and how you use the tools to get to the end result. And if you use AI to generate like more ad variants that you want to experiment with, like great. If it works for you, it works for you, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, even inside of Google Ads and even LinkedIn now, there's AI integrations. So it's like you get to the ad part, and it's like, hey, let us just make this ad for you. Which it's it's really, I would never recommend anyone to like do that because usually it doesn't have all the context. Like it's, yes, it's scanning your homepage for that information and providing its sentiment on what you're selling, but I don't think that it really gets the idea across in the ads. Um, I think it's really fascinating because really what it sounds like behind everything you're mentioning here is strategy is the most important part. You know, crap in, crap out. So if you have like AI make like if you make like AI like campaigns that you did AI to do your keyword research and AI to do all this other crap, you're going to get crap results. But if you take the time, like have thorough strategy, understand like the whole buying journey and make sure you map that out, set it up correctly with like a really good strategy. I think like I try to prove this point a lot, and I'm pushing this as like sort of a hot take in my eyes that I think you need the strategy to have amazing results, but you don't necessarily need someone to manage that campaign anymore. I think that we are trending in the direction where specialists and ad managers are sort of becoming obsolete. You already see it now with some of like the no code softwares that are out there, but with AI layered on top of it and like its number crunching ability, I
Hmm.
mean, you have like it kind of on steroids now. It's like your software now has this person always managing it 24/7 and number crunching for you and then sending you feedback every day that you just need to say yes or no to. It takes you less than 5 minutes to do anything, but your accounts are now more optimized than if you had an actual human like managing the accounts, right? Like, what do you know what I'm saying there? Like, have you seen that at all? Like in your orgs that
Yeah.
you've worked with? Okay.
No, I definitely agree with that. And to go back to something you said earlier, I would never trust a built-in AI feature inside of an
Yeah.
advertising platform because you always have to keep in mind the incentive of the vendor. In this case, like if it's Google Ads and it's suggesting like automated AI recommendations to optimize your campaigns, like no,
Yeah. Yeah.
might want to think twice before hitting that button. But yeah, to answer your question, one thing that AI is like great at is analyzing data or like reading through text, reading through data, whether it's like numbers or words, and summarizing it. So whether it's summarizing ad performance data or it's summarizing an article for you, that's I don't know, like 15 pages. That's what it's good at. So those are the type of the tasks that I would actually trust AI with. And even those like giant advertising platforms right now have a lot of those like built-in tools where there are like intelligent you can perform intelligent lookups on specific metrics by just like typing out a sentence, or like build dashboards, like AI suggested dashboards with like
Yeah.
widgets, and stuff like that, and get some forecasts on your performance. Like all of that is great, whether you're using the internal built-in tools or like third-party vendors. Like another trend that I see in lots of data analytics tools are just the AI powered chat overlay
Hmm.
on top of the entire data layer of the tool, which is incredible. Then you're just able to, ask your data questions and get simple
Yeah.
results and answers in plain English. So I think those are actual like exciting use cases and things that we weren't able to do before as marketers.
I think there's a lot that could be said about the whole, yeah, AI on top of a data layer providing like your customer success role. I don't necessarily want to get into that too much, but I think what generally we're trending towards is strategy is going to become like the number one thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
everything else is automated. To play devil's advocate a little bit, I want to understand your thoughts here. Of the people that are, everyone is exposed to AI, but of the people that are in the demand gen team, who do you think is most at risk of having their job automated in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a tough question.
And there's no
It's
right
a, it's a,
answer,
it's a,
really.
yeah, no, there's no right answer. I honestly think we're a little about like AI is not at a point yet where it can fully like automate a person. I see a lot of startups that are trying to push for like automated employees and like marketing and sales, and those seem like conceptual startups, and it's interesting like looking at the way that the market is shifting right now. But to go back to the question, I think you were right that it might be that like campaign manager or the data analyst. But how I think this might actually manifest itself in the market is that the analyst will have just more responsibility over the campaign. It won't, their role won't be just the reporting of the data or like pulling the data that's needed or managing the campaigns day to day if it's a campaign manager, but also providing recommendations and taking more ownership over those campaigns. Maybe I guess what I'm trying to say is I think their responsibilities will broaden because their work can be done more efficiently and faster now with the right tools, right?
Sure.
But I think you still need that person in the driver's seat.
That's fair. What are your so there's obviously how this impacts full-time employees and someone that's managing the thing. How do you
Mm-hmm.
think it impacts agencies? How do you think that someone that would normally be contracted out to do this kind of work, with maybe the management work, right? How does that impacted in the next 5 years? Because it's like the same activity but nuanced in a different way, and I think that business owners will, like, in my opinion, view it as less valuable to work with like a consultant like that from like a
Mm-hmm.
management sense, and more so like only in a strategy sense, and then there's no need really to hire someone to do that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question too. I think we'll see a lot of competitive pricing in within agencies, which always shifts the dynamics a lot. So you'll see more net new agencies popping up,
Mm-hmm.
offering this like competitive pricing because they use so much automation and AI and are able to um, advertise themselves as a full stack like digital marketing agency, but in reality maybe it's like just two people and a bunch of
Yeah.
AI tools. I think it'll well, I'm a little biased. I don't think it'll be successful long term. Maybe we'll see like a short term spike. I mean, we're already seeing a bunch of new agencies pop up that um, are full stack and serve everyone and don't have like a niche necessarily in the clients that they serve. So I think we'll see more of that. I've also been noticing a new agency model mimicking SaaS, which is quite
Yeah.
interesting. So what I'm seeing there is them offering their AI tech stack on like a SaaS subscription basis, and you can like pick and choose what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and you get charged just like for software, but it's really you're paying for a small team of people that are managing that software for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that feels like a whole different thing. Honestly, I don't even like think of it as a marketing agency. It's sort of like this like interesting hybrid.
Yeah.
There is something to it, right? Because we've never had this many tools at our disposal before as marketers, and especially like AI powered tools that are able to like do a bunch of things and automate things. So as much as we're worried and talking today about AI replacing people, but who's supposed to like use and set up, still like
Yeah.
manage those tools that are supposed to automate a lot for you? So actually, this like hybrid model of a SaaS and agency coming together makes sense. Like I understand why we're seeing agencies like this now, but I don't know if this is like a short term or a long term thing.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I actually hadn't really thought of the whole agency enabled like AI approach, but that makes a lot of sense. I might even consider it for myself. Not gonna lie, I that's a really good idea. I like I've kind of preached the whole episode really, is that I just really feel like agencies themselves and lower level like skilled employees are going to be like my hot take is I don't think they're gonna be around in like 5 years. 5 years. Like I think now to a degree with, like I said, some of the no code and also with some of the hard coded things that people are putting together, to a degree, I think that people can manage ad accounts without someone like behind it. Like you really can just have a digital marketing manager and they're in charge of the AI tool that does copy, the AI tool that does design, the AI tool that manages the campaigns. And then they just, the tools get them 90% of the way there. They finish the last 10% with their time. And I think eventually you're going to get to the point where it's like you really only need a CMO, and the CMO then works with all of these other like best in class AI tools that basically do everything that people used to do. I think the safest people in this scenario are just leadership, experienced people. They know strategies that work well and they're staying cutting edge. Obviously, you can't just rely on like what worked 10 years ago because it's going to change, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of feels like that's the case. Or at least that's what I think. And I think you have like somewhat of a similar opinion, but I think it was like a little bit rooted with the fact that like yeah, someone still has to be there, like to drive.
Yeah, yeah. Someone definitely has to be here. Like what you just described, I think is a very like idealistic take on like AI. And if we have like the perfect AI tools where like a CMO, like one person at I think that makeup today works for very small, like early stage companies. But if you're in like enterprise level or even like, um, a mid-sized company, I think
Yeah,
that's not sustainable and probably won't be for I don't know, like a couple of years or a decade. I see the potential in AI, but I also see how it doesn't work in a lot of
yeah,
ways when it's
yeah,
supposed to work. So I'm a little skeptical, but the rate of innovation with AI is just so disproportional to anything else we've experienced before. So I'm sort of like biting my tongue as I'm speaking this
sure.
out into existence because yeah, it's innovation cycle is just going too fast. Like I don't know, maybe next year we'll solve all of the problems that we're having right now with the current
Yeah.
tools, you know. So what do I know?
That's hilarious. I couldn't help but think about the three body problem. Have you read the book or have you like watched the show on Netflix?
No, what is it?
Well, it's basically this show that has to do with aliens, and like spoiler alert for anyone that like hasn't watched it, you could skip like 40 seconds ahead. But really, what happens is that the humans make contact with aliens, and it's like present day world, like in the 70s, 80s, they make contact with the aliens, and they're the aliens are so far away, light years away, that it's going to take them like 400 years to come to Earth. But the humans are like, you should come and save us. Like we need help. It's super weird, and there's a lot of convoluted stuff that happens in between, obviously. But there's a point where like the aliens are like, yeah, like we like the humans, and then they realize like maybe when they're like 100 or 50 years into their trek, they realize they're like, oh, humans have like this insane innovation curve. Like they learn so quickly and their technology adapts so fast that like it's dangerous for the aliens to make this like 400-year trek to Earth, because what who they were talking to like 400 years ago, or like present day, they're going to be like massively different in 400 years, almost to the point where it's like, are they going to be safe? They could be dangerous. And so it's super like I just couldn't help but think about that whenever whenever you're talking about like AI changing. Like that's literally
Yeah,
the same, in my opinion, it's the same situation. It's like AI literally might be so different next year, to the point where it's like everything we just talked about like sounds so dumb. It's like obviously AI is gonna do that.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. I just couldn't help but think about the sci-fi nerd in me. Was That's what I was
That's
thinking
so funny.
about.
I mean, sounds like an awesome show. I'm definitely gonna check it out. Sounds
It's really
super
good.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do relate. I think the aliens got it right, and I feel the same way about AI right now.
It's so funny. Awesome. Maggie, did you have any questions for me about demand gen, AI, like its impact? I'm just like everyone like that listens to this, which is only like 20 or 30 people like a month anyway, so it's small, but like for at least for now, right? But you know, they know that I'm like super in the weeds in Google Ads. Like I do Google Ads strategy. I make all these freaking crazy strategies that like I'm really bullish on the idea that like if you have a really good strategy and it's set up correctly, then like the management helps, but it's not going to be like what makes or breaks the campaign. At the end of the day, it's the strategy, it's the message, it's the offer. Um, so like for me, when I look at AI, I look at it like somewhat tactically too. And I know we talked about like the automation of tactical things, but I mean, if you had any questions in terms of, oh, what are some of those things that are getting automated and that you'd like to know about, especially as like a head of marketing, I'd love to answer those for you. This episode is sponsored by Optimize Your Marketing. If you're looking for B2B Google Ads strategy for tech companies, then look no further than Optimize Your Marketing. They implement a custom Notion database that is filled with strategy documents ranging from competitive analysis to ad account optimization. If you're looking to optimize your Google Ads accounts with some next level strategy, then feel free to reach out to them at optimizeyourmarketing.io. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the opportunity to ask questions. I guess like my question would be like, has AI helped you in the testing phase, or has it helped shorten the iteration loop for you with the various accounts that you manage?
It's a great question. Um, there's only one thing that I use AI for in like the A/B testing sense. I use AI a lot indirectly for A/B testing, like to maybe set up like a new landing page. I'll use AI to do that. But in terms of like analyzing the test results, um, there's this tool that, you know, quick side story. I worked in a venture studio and I helped co-found this tool called AB Wizard, which shameless plug, but also
Oh,
I don't
cool.
really like work with it too much anymore. But I co-founded this tool, and essentially its job was to aggregate A/B test data across all social media platforms and landing page platforms, which like for the time and honestly still to this day, there isn't a platform that does this really well. And it visualizes it in like this expected return on investment standpoint. And there was an AI layer in two ways. One, it analyzed test results and that was number one, which was really cool because it gave you insights like on the hardcore, like on the data layer. That was
Hmm.
there, which we kind of mentioned earlier. It was like the AI is layered on the data. And then two, it recommended, like strategically speaking, like what you should test next, which is sort of like this like survival of the fittest situation where like A tests B and then whoever wins tests C, which I thought was like so cool, right? Obviously, like I don't think it like fully got developed, but I still use the tool for my clients, and it's that's how I use AI like from a testing standpoint.
Yeah, no, I love
Yeah.
it. That's so great. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's abwizard.com if anyone's interested.
Love it.
Awesome. But I guess to answer the indirect question too of like how I use AI indirectly, there's tools like Reloom. I'm not sure if you've heard of Reloom before, but it's a way for you to create landing pages and even like website pages really fast. And it uses no code plus AI. The AI kind of comes in with like the copy, which
Hmm.
obviously, if you give it a good enough prompt, the copy is going to be pretty refined. You should obviously go back through and like update it so it doesn't sound like AI, but I think what I mentioned like at the very beginning of the episode was, you know, there's really no reason not to have a comparison page anymore or a pricing page or even just like competitive alternative pages because you can use tools like Reloom. And if you have like a web flow as your site builder, it connects directly
Hmm.
with it. So it can just like copy
That's
all the
awesome.
CS, yeah, copy the HTML and CSS, place it in Webflow, and then like bam, you have a page like in 10 minutes. It's
Yeah,
very fast.
I love
But
it.
that's
And it works pretty
yeah.
well for you?
Yeah, I mean indirectly. I mean, and like I said before, like I'm kind of stepping away from like the implementation of things and more
Hmm.
just like into that strategy role because truthfully I do think that's what moves the needle, but then too, I really think the industry is moving in that direction. It's like strategy is going to be the most important thing. Tactical execution and implementation is like at the most risk of being automated and AI coming in and ruining those people's days, which
Yeah,
is tough.
yeah. I mean, I like to look at it like with a positive bias and say like all these people that were like stuck in like monotonous work or like
Yeah.
more implementation level work will have the ability to um, contribute on a more strategic level. And I see it as a positive. If AI is here, I'd rather it automate the like tasks and work and implementation rather than creative or strategy. And I know it's been like a hot topic, I guess, in the pop culture too. Like, oh, like why is AI like painting pictures and
Yeah.
writing songs and why not do the dirty work? But I think at least in the B2B front, the way we marketers use AI, it is doing a lot of that like implementation level work. And I do feel bullish about that specifically.
Yeah, I like the positive spin. I like to stay positive. Sometimes I go negative for like the hot take and the engagement, but this time like generally that's like how I feel, but I think you're right. I think you've got to stay positive, and as long as those people that like, let's just pretend that I'm right and that like maybe these people are automated in the next 5 to 10 years, as long as the people that are that the roles that are being automated, like that the roles that they look like today, if they're being automated, as long as those people that are having their jobs like kind of removed are learning and using AI to do the next best thing, then there'll always be a place for them. But I think it's the people that, you know, they're like so upset that AI like maybe automates part of their job and they feel less valuable and they don't learn like the next thing, that could be problematic for them if they're not like continuing to innovate at
Yeah.
the human speed, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that there's truth to that too. Like you have to be upskilling yourself as a marketer all the time, like AI or not. Honestly, our jobs are very
Yeah,
competitive, and we do have to be growing and be on the cutting edge of latest trends, tools, innovation, and now AI. So it's just like another thing we have to keep up with.
absolutely. All right, Maggie. Well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being on. It was a great conversation. I can't wait to publish this and see what people say.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ian. I really enjoyed our conversation. Happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Before we go, wanted to, find out what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they're interested in adaptive or some of the work that you're doing. How can they get in touch with you the best way?
Sure, awesome. Yeah, well, you can find Adaptive at adaptive.build. So that's www.adaptive.build. And we're also on LinkedIn and all of social media platforms, Adaptive Build or Adaptive Builds, depending on the platform. And for me, you can find me at Maggie Sirunyan. I'm most active on LinkedIn, really not doing social media anywhere else. So I think LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Clicks. Yeah, clicks to that. I like LinkedIn the most as well. So, Maggie,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And yeah, we'll be in touch soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Optimize Your Marketing podcast. We post weekly on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Every Tuesday morning, you can expect an episode about AI, PPC, or SEO. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave it a 5-star rating or a thumbs up. It really helps me understand which kind of episodes you like the most so I can bring more of those to you. Until next time, I'll see you next week.